Good morning. It is Tuesday, just after 9 o'clock. I have my good friend Dr. Aaron Chapa here in studio. If you're viewing this on social media, if you are hearing my voice, maybe going back and listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, thank you so much for taking the time to tune in. Go ahead and share this out. We're going to be spreading some positivity. We're going to be talking about health, nutrition. We're going to be talking about staying well, getting well, healing your body with food, maybe not living in fear. We're going to be talking about some positive things. We're going to be taking a positive outlook on everything that's going on in the world. And it is a little bit of a crazy time, but, you know, this is what Dr. Chapa has been talking about for, I'm going to say almost a couple years here on KHEA radio, you know, boosting your immune system, being able to deal with things that come into your body. And Dr. Chapa is here, you know, been preaching it for a while. So if you're taking the time to tune in, go ahead and share this out. We're going to be talking about health, nutrition, what you can do to live your best life, maybe even while you are quarantined at home or things are a little bit different. That's what I have been honestly struggling with, is trying to make sure that I have the right kind of food to eat. Because if you go to the grocery store, the shelves may be a little bit more barren than they aren't normally. What do you do in that instance, in that case? I have some thoughts and some suggestions on that, but we're going to make sure that we get those from Dr. Chapa, from the man himself, from Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, located in League City, Texas, 815 East Main Street. If you haven't been to his website, you can always go check that out. It's justlivewell.com. Again, feel free to share this out. Let me know what you got going on today. I'm going to kick us onto the FM and get this reintroduced and learn about everything Dr. Chapa has been up to. Here we go. Good morning. This is KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM. Right now it is 9:06 a.m. on a Tuesday. That means we have Dr. Aaron Chapa here in studio from Just Live Well Clinical Nutrition Center, Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center. You can go to justlivewell.com to learn more about Dr. Aaron Chapa's office in League City. You know, right now is a time that it's not unprecedented in our country, but it is definitely in my lifetime. And I'm going to take a guess and say it's unprecedented in Dr. Chapa's lifetime as well. Dr. Chapa, good morning, sir. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Gardy. Good morning to you. Dr. Chapa here, Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, and thank you all for tuning in. We're so glad to be here. I mean, we could very well be in some parts of the world on forced lockdown. I mean, one of my patients was shot me an email yesterday. They were in Jordan, and they were caught the last flight out, if you will, before they shut it all down. I mean, these people are, I think they can go in their backyards, but I think for the most part they are literally, you know, they're quarantined, you know. And you know, approximately 2 weeks, and life is definitely different. You know what I mean? It's I would say perilous times. It's a different for me for sure.
What does quarantine life look like for you and your family?
At this point in time, I mean, up until, you know, we got this last Galveston County order, it's been relatively normal. We've been bouncing around in the backyard. We've cleaned up stuff around the house. I mean, it's a great time to kind of catch up on all the to-dos. You know what I mean?
It is, yeah.
And so
your kids they're regularly like homeschooled, right?
Right. So because we homeschool, life is relatively normal.
Can you give us some tips?
Yeah, I could probably.
Folks, please.
We could probably. I should have brought my wife online. She could probably have helped.
Man.
And for sure, I mean, there's so much that we need to be, you know, all learning. Everybody's on a learning curve. All the teachers that I've talked to are on learning curve, and I mean, it is fascinating to see how steep the learning curve is and how quick people can adapt and you know, get it figured out, because that's what it's going to take. You know, we just got to get it figured out and move forward and figure out where does the next phase of our next logical step come from, and we'll figure it out. I mean, this is what we do, right? I mean, we create things in the world, and we are resourceful people, and when we're up against our precipice, we'll figure things out. And
even math for having to homeschool your kids, maybe.
Yeah, remember, when in doubt, start at the basics. You know, addition is, and then the next level up is multiplication. Subtraction is the next level up is division. You know, you just gotta make sure those math facts are intact. That's funny.
Yes. So yeah, your life has been relatively the same. I mean, you've been living this healthy lifestyle, spreading awareness, letting people know that we need to, up our immune systems. And it's a crazy time right now.
Well, so, there's so many things, Gardy, I'd like to share. And first and foremost, I want people to keep their wit about them. I got a great quote yesterday from a great doctor friend of mine by Rudyard Kipling. And it says, if you keep your wits about you while all others are losing theirs and blaming you, the world will be yours and everything in it. What's more, you'll be a man, my son. So the reality is this is a time where we have to be responsible. We have to keep our wit about us. We have to remain in an attitude of vigilance and keep a mindset of look, this is not the end of the world. This is a virus, and a virus is a virus is a virus. You've got 100 trillion viruses probably floating around in you at this given point in time. You've got 10 trillion immunological cells floating around in your system at this given point in time. Only if you had $1 for every immune cell that you have in your system. But the reality is the viral patterns are more abundant than the even your immune markers. But your immune markers are so strong, they have the ability to suppress and subdue, as the Bible talks about. I really try to help people understand that your body is designed to adapt. It's designed to figure stuff out. When you get cold and you get goosebumps popping up on your arms, that is a natural stressor response. Your body says, oh, I got to get warm, so I got to shiver, or I've got to get the goosebumps. If you are hot and you start sweating profusely, that's an indicator that your body's trying to cool down. Have you ever seen a lizard try to cool down? They open their mouth and they just stare. They just kind of look like they're frozen, but they're
I haven't noticed that, but you have a lizard.
I have a lizard at home, and so I'm like, oh, cool.
That is cool.
A neat thing to observe on how different species regulate body temperature. But that's a neurological response. If you take a child you just got a brand new baby, right?
Yes.
Congratulations, by the way. That is so exciting. If you take the pen in your hand and you rub it from the heel up towards his feet, you're going to see a fetal response, a healthy response of his nervous system, that his certain nerve pathways are intact. But over time, that pathway will decline. He won't need it forever. You have a ton of neurological inputs in and around your belly button. Why? Because he had an umbilical cord recently attached to that. So there's a lot of neurological responses and immunological responses sitting around a transition site where blood flow is crossing over into his life. I mean, it's what's building him and how he's eliminating waste. So there's soldiers, if you will, immunological soldiers and neurological cells present to monitor and to make sure that everything is doing what it's supposed to be doing, and to make sure that he grows and develops like he's supposed to. And now that he is out of the womb and disconnected from that umbilical cord, what happens to the umbilical cord?
It just withers away.
It withers away.
Yeah. And
so, interesting, he doesn't need the umbilical cord anymore because it's old news. It's no longer his lifeline. And so that's the beauty of life. We're always going to be exposed to things in our environment. We're always going to be up against bacterium and viral patterns. And if you look at history, a lot of the viruses and weird, diseases that have come down the pike, they've all eradicated themselves as we have cleaned up, our sewer systems, and we've gone from open-aired sewers to closed-aired sewers. I'm reading a book right now about just the late 1800s, how they would literally open up the grounds and men would go down in there and they would take out the sewage of the city and they would carry it to the fields to put all over the cropland, only to bring all the crops back in to the city And we wonder why we had things like scarlet fever or rheumatic fever, or why, later into the 1900s we had the, Spanish flu. We had the, the different viruses that have transpired even in the last 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a virus, and it is not, the end of the world. It really isn't. And I really want people to grasp hold of this is your body's opportunity to mount a response. And so I thought about a couple different ways that we could kind of talk about, how the immune system works and why nutrition is such an essential part of healthcare today. Because at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, we give people alternatives to drugs and surgery. That is my vision. That's my mission. I feel like truly God put that in my heart to go and make this impact into people's lives, to share how to live better, be better, and stay better through lifestyle choices, through diet choices, through stress management. And right now, when we look across the globe, there is relative panic. I mean, and I would hate to say even economic concern. I mean, there is a lot of things that we can be stressed about. Like this, if there's ever a time to stress, this is probably a good one. Whenever we're pretty much told we can't work, we can't do this. I mean, this too shall pass, right? I truly believe that this too shall pass. But your body's ability to have a healthy immune response is why I'm here. Like, I want people's bodies to respond to any type of bug, any type of virus. My biggest kind of, wonder right now, and no one's either doing the statistical analysis. I looked it up. I can't find good research at the moment that I truly feel comfortable sharing. But right now, we should be at about 120,000 deaths with respect to flu. From the 25th of December to the 21st of January, which I think is probably fairly accurate, about 38,000 people have died of the flu. And to date, we haven't had that many people even come close die of this virus. And but it is an envelope virus, very similar to the flu.
I wonder if the flu's still on track to take those numbers.
Well, that's the whole wonder, right?
Yeah.
We're so concerned about this. What's the flu really? Is the flu doing anything, or has it, over the course of time, just like all bugs and viruses, begin to eradicate themselves as we get smarter and we start learning approaches to stimulate the body's healthy adaptive response? And when you give the body a healthy adaptive response via good lifestyle choices and practices, things that you add in daily. I mean, if you're at home and I made a video the other day on Facebook, and it talked about, CRAP, spells crap, right? It's a bad word, I got it, but it means something in this case.
Yes.
If you are at home living on famine foods, carbohydrates only, refined foods only, additives only, or alcohol, primarily, and processed box foods.
I think it's fair to say a lot of people are.
Yes.
By the way, yeah.
And that's why I feel like I made the video is those are the foods that are slowing down your digestive tract. They're slowing down your system up to 30-35%. Plus, you're at home kind of twiddling your thumbs, wondering, what do I do?
Snack.
And so, yeah, we reach to comfort. We reach to the junk foods, and we start eating those things, not realizing it's slowing us down, and that's compromising your immune response. That is trouble number one, trouble, trouble. We can't have that. So we have to start thinking, all right, well, what can we do? We can do, there's some things going around about how to boost your nitric oxide just by doing, simple body squats. If you've got a kettlebell in your house, swing a kettlebell. If you can drop down on your knees and do knee push-ups or foot push-ups, or can't do those, just do a plank. Can't do that, do a modified plank on your bed. I mean, we can get active. We can walk laps around our house. We can walk up and down our stairs. We can get creative to stimulate some of these leg muscle exercises that stimulate nitric oxide throughout the body, that mobilize our lymph system. We can drink water only, or herbal teas, detox teas, to make sure that the system is mobilizing the tissues throughout the body better when our stresses are up. We can manage the stress response by making sure that we have tools. Things like I've always talked about, adaptogen, Mintran, Nevaton, some of the best things in the world to control a neurological response of stress. When the stressor of stress comes on us, our heartbeat rises, right? It gets faster. It starts pumping. If we can control it and knock that stressor down, then we are in a situation where we're also controlling inflammation. Because as your body temperature rises, as your heart rate rises, as your body is potentially becoming more and more inflamed. But in a good, healthy way, like we're describing here so far, these are all good, healthy practices that we can. Walking is a good stress-free exercise. Body squats is a good stress-free exercise. Drinking more water, herbal teas, stress-free living. Using things like Mintran to calm your nerves and to calm the mind and to slow down your thought process so that you don't drive off the cliff of despair and get all negative and the gloomy world that is upon us. No. Remember, what does the Bible say when perilous times comes? We gird ourselves up with the belt of truth. We walk in peace, the boots of peace. We get to we shod our feet with the boots of peace. That way, everywhere we go, we have peace. Even if it doesn't look right, even if you don't have the money to pay your bills, even if you don't have the right food or the right supplements in your toolbox, and you feel unprepared, you still can rest in something even better than that. The Spirit, resting in the Holy Spirit. And if you don't have the Holy Spirit, we can pray for the Holy Spirit. We can help you get there. You can call the radio, and Gardy and his team up here will help. You work through those things. We can protect our mind with the helmet of salvation. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Psychological, games that we play with ourselves can really set us afloat in a really positive direction, or it can drag us down into a negative spiral. And your ability then to adapt and to mount an immunological attack against any virus or bacteria that you are exposed to, or allergy. By the way, if you noticed, like the trees didn't get the notice that we're shutting down the world.
They should have.
They should have.
We sent it out, but
yeah. Apparently they ain't listening.
They don't care.
And so they're still blooming. The grass is still budding and growing faster than ever. The flowers are doing what they're doing. We're all pruning our hedges for new growth. And guess what? People are having allergy attacks. People are dealing with sinus crud, and they can't tell the difference. Is it the corona or is it an allergy? And so we have to appreciate that life is still happening just as it always has. The sun will come up. Trying, in my opinion, to run from the coronavirus is like trying to get the sun to not come up this morning.
Mm-hmm. So what if somebody is not prepared? What if somebody doesn't have, their toolbox, their tool chest? They don't have any supplements in there. They didn't have the right kinds of food. Like, they are eating the carbs and everything else just because, hey, it's the only thing I can manage to get. Is it too late for them? What can they start doing today to help?
So, Gardy, you know where this is going. When's the best time to plant an oak tree?
30 years ago.
But when's the next
even
best
30
time?
days ago at this point.
That's right.
If we didn't know 30 days ago life was going to be like it is today, then 30, whenever we had the same conversation 30 days ago, we'd been like today.
That's right.
And maybe some people did start 30 days ago today.
And so when's the next best time to plant an oak tree?
Today.
So are they at a space where they are hopeless? Absolutely not. But I do have a quick story because it's kind of comical relief, I hope, is that I was at the Costco in our area, and a guy's walking out, and I wish I would have been faster on the camera and I'd have splashed him.
Yeah.
And but he's going out, and he's got water.
Can I guess what's in his cart?
Yes, please.
Okay. You got the Costco toilet paper.
Yes,
of
course.
I'm going to snack on this all quarantine long, right? So you got some toilet paper. He probably has some water. I'm going to guess there's some kind of pastas for sure. And
there's only one other thing. He had 3 items.
It has to be a cookie or cake or a snack or something, like some kind of dessert, right?
It was a box of waffles. And I just thought,
I'm counting it.
I just like, that's awesome. You know what I mean? Like, he's got this figured out: water, toilet paper, and waffles. And
Destiny's Child, I'm a Survivor playing in your head. You go.
That's right.
Just all the way to the car.
So, what can a person do to get started today? Number one, make 32 ounces of water per 50 pounds of body. 32 ounces of water per 50 pounds of body weight. So if you're 130 pounds, round it up to 150 and get your 3 liters in that day. Does that make sense? Like, don't round down, round up. It's better to have a little bit more water, because I assure you, it's rare that a person ever walks in and doesn't have some level of dehydration going on. And water should be at the bottom of the food pyramid. Like, it should be the most. But I mean, do you realize? Yeah, your cell structure is primarily, your body structure is primarily water, and so we can start with water. Then we can start with eggs and protein. For breakfast. You don't have eggs and protein. Maybe you've got some chicken. Maybe you got some sausage links, some bacon or something. Like protein. Like,
it's been hard to find it at the stores, to be fair.
It is. It is.
Have you?
And so I have. We stock up a lot of this stuff all the time. Like, so, like, when we went, we didn't have to like buy out the store. We just added to our supply house.
What I've seen is like the local meat markets, and even some vendors like Anthony Macaluso with the Gun Vault, which his business has been nuts, by the way. I've been asking him, and people are stocking up on he's been getting ammo and firearms. I'm like, dude, that's great for you. Not everybody's in that.
Yeah,
he has multiple businesses too, and that's good. But yeah, he has a guy that's like delivering food from like these places, like steaks and meat and eggs, and I was like, that's cool. But like meat markets and different places, like your local Kins Hens in Santa Fe, like call like some,
you'd be surprised.
They have them.
The local places still have things because the big box stores are running out of these.
Exactly,
things. And nobody forgets, because in mass panic, our frontal lobe turns off, and we just start reacting. We become what we call reactive. If we can get people to stop being reactive and get people to be responsive, they will make better choices and they'll make better decisions. And a part of like where to start in planting your oak tree today is getting your head on right. That's why I opened up with keep your wit about you. Don't drive off the cliff. Don't get too far off in all the conspiracy theory. Don't get too far off in all the crazy politics. Don't get off in like the doom and the gloom and how's that all going to work out. Look, the one thing is for sure, this isn't a situation where, the east side of town's got whacked by a storm and the west side's okay and life's relatively balanced and still working. This is like global, everybody's feeling the effect of these decisions. I mean, we kind of got an idea like who is actually running the country at the moment. Like, it's the CDC, like they shut us down. And so, this is where we be smart. This is where we look, if you've potentially been exposed, don't go out and cough on other people. If you know that you're not feeling well, maybe, sit back and rest up. Assess your bowels. Assess, are you having a bowel movement? I mean, I know people don't like talking about their bowels, but my job is to help you understand why your body gets sick. And one of the number one reasons is one of two bathrooms in your body get backed up. You have two bathrooms. Your natural one, the one that you're very familiar with, that you use the TP for, that's one of your bathrooms. And then the second bathroom is your cells have an excretion pathway into the lymph system. And both of these systems, if they get backed up or if one gets backed up, you're compromised. And that compromised state will cause your body to have an issue. So make sure that the system's flowing. I mean, you can't see your inside system, but you can get an idea. If you feel around your lymph and you feel a little sore, you feel a little bit of a nodule or something, that could be an indication of a lymph swelling. I had a patient come in just yesterday. She had lymph swelling under her left armpit. And guess what? Does that mean it's like the flu? Does that mean it's corona? Or does that mean she's got some clogged up lymph nodes? Clogged up lymph nodes. One of her bathrooms is clogged up. So we opened up the bathroom. How did we do that? We use a percussor in our office, a massager device, I'll call it. But it's like a jackhammer, and it breaks up those tissues subcutaneously, and we can help mobilize those tissues. We can use essential oils to rub on the lymph system, like lemon is a great one, for lymph system. We can use herbs to mobilize stuff through the system and get the body to open up that way. We can just drink simply more water, and that will do a lot of good. Minerals are huge right now. Like this, because of the amount of stress we're under mentally, physically, and emotionally. We are using up minerals by the truckload. We need to load up on minerals: calcium, magnesium, iodine, and these multi minerals that we have at Living Well. And these are just tools, guys, not to fight off corona, but just in general to make sure that your body is plugged in to the source of its, of its survivability, its adaptability, and its immune response. And so it's really it's a process of allowing the body to feed well so that it can live well. If we stress well, we can live well. If we think well, we can live well. And so wherever you're at, there is probably somebody in your orbit that if you've got nothing would probably lend a helping hand. And this is where we'll also find out who our neighbors are. We'll find out, who is going to, physically go to bat, to help out. There's things we can do, and there's some things that are out of people's control, but there's also things that people can do. And anytime there's always been a storm or a tragedy, it's amazing the amount of people that come together that are willing to get their hands dirty, that are willing to get in the trenches. And I'll be honest with you, that's why I am thankful that I can still be working on people. I mean, I remember a time when I had neck pain so bad that driving down the road with the gas pedal and or braking hurt so bad that I would moan. I couldn't wait to get worked on fast enough. And had I not gotten worked on fast enough, I would have been hurting, and it wouldn't have gotten better. I've got 4 adjustments in 4 days, and 2 of the days I got 2 adjustments a day, and that's what got me back ready for the next working day. Even though I worked every day, but it would have probably taken weeks to get better. I had a patient come in or email me yesterday that has issues with digestion, major issues with digestion because of the stress of what's going on in the world, and this is the worst flare-up that she's had in years, and she hasn't really got fully established here in Houston. She's new to the area, and so she's in a situation where she's not. This isn't the time that she wants to go establish care, So she's established care with us. And we gave her some ideas on how to get her flare under control digestively, because stress is a #1 driver. I hate blaming stuff on stress, guys. I really do. But adaptogen, Mintran, Neviton is one of those things. You feed the adrenals with the adaptogen, you calm the brain with the minerals from the Mintran, and you enhance the tolerant stress load of your nervous system's ability to take on more with the Neviton. There's nothing magical about these things. They're just herbs and minerals. What they do is they give the body tools and resources to manage a situation better. So for all you now newly homeschooled parents, first and foremost, manage your stress.
Congratulations.
First
day of school pictures are due today, actually.
That's right. We would love to see them here on KHEA Radio. I don't know what we should do something really cool for the best one. Because it is. This can be, we can find the silver lining in all this, and we can also realize that, man, maybe there is a blessing in slowing down and realizing that we work too much. Like maybe we need to go back to siestas. I mean, they've done research on a 26-minute nap for NASA space flight flyers. They increase productivity in their cognitive function by over 35% throughout the whole day, where without a 26-minute nap, they are not as sharp. Now, they're sharp because they're flying airplanes, but, I mean, they were able to measure another level of sharpness. Let's say that you knew you had to work overnight and you weren't going to get to sleep tonight, because there's some people that work shift work, right? There's some people that don't get good sleep because they have these night shifts. But let's say it's even just a normal person, like you're not going to sleep tonight for whatever reason. If you got a 30-minute extra nap sometime today, you're going to be 37% more effective getting through the night. Now, it's not a big percentage because we need to sleep, but they found that you're way more likely to get through it with less immunological repercussions. Because when you lack sleep, so getting good sleep, by the way, is another lifestyle thing we can do to make sure that your immune system is strong It's adaptable. It's ready to handle whatever you're up against. You're able to get a good night of sleep is important. But man, take a nap. Siestas. We always joke about if we could all go back to having a siesta in the afternoon. Wouldn't it be nice if we had a siesta in the afternoon? Well, we could start maybe practicing that. I mean, everybody's working from home. I've heard more people going for walks. I've heard more people that are just clearing their head, with the reassessing and revamping where they're at in the world. This is reflection time, and you can start prioritizing. You know what? My wife is my priority. My children are my priority. And yes, I'm thankful for my work, but man, maybe I need to look to the heavens, and I need to, or focus in on mentally getting right with the Lord, from a heart perspective, getting right with the Lord and saying, Lord, we need your presence over this land. We need to repent. 1 John 1:9 says, if we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. Cool. I'm in. Who's in? I bet you every one of us, Christian or no Christian, you could probably repent for something. You know what I mean? And I'm telling you, we need to get our minds, our spirit right, so that we can get our lives right. Again, I think we have been so off over the years, and we've gotten caught in the rat race of burning the candle at so many different angles. And we worship only on Sundays, but wonder why we don't really see God moving in our lives.
Mm-hmm. Well, Dr. Chapa, I was like this close to having what I felt was like my life was together. Everything was falling into place. 2020 looked like it was going to be a good year, and it still can be and still will be. We're going to make the best of it.
Absolutely.
But, I was like this close. And then I've seen a lot of memes, and I feel like a lot of people are coping with memes because some of them are honestly funny. It's like, hey, it's taking the situation, and it adds a lot of humor to it, and people are dealing with that. And there's different ways we can find releases, but there was memes about that. I was like, man, my summer body's canceled. Things are done. I've been stuck in the house, and now I'm like a teacher, and there's all kinds of stuff going on. But that was one thing I was just thinking of like different ways that we can manage. You were sharing all those herbs and supplements and stuff you can take, trying to find time to have a socially distant walk, with your loved ones or whatever, you know what I mean? But and then you were also talking about people who work overnight. And one thing I've noticed, like these people that are at the hospital, because my son, he's doing good, but my son's in the NICU. He was born about like 12 days ago. All these days, like they flow together, right? But there's all these nurses and doctors and nurse practitioners and security and people that work at the hospital 24 hours a day, and they're there like all night, working these 12-hour shifts and even longer. But I just wanted to say, hey, thank you to them, because I know a lot of people who are nurses, and they're out there hustling, and I don't know what they're doing to get their schedule switched, but they're like there at alert and everything else.
And we do need to be thankful, because there are people. Listen. There will be people that will be affected by the virus. There will be people that will be permanently affected by the virus. There's also people that aren't affected physically, specifically by the virus, but emotionally by the virus. I was informed yesterday, one of my patients, their grandmother is expected to die in the next 2 weeks. And guess where the grandma's at? In a nursing home. Guess where no one can go? The nursing home. She doesn't understand. You know what I mean? Yeah, like, why isn't nobody coming to see me? Why did everybody stop coming to see me? And so there are some really sad stories. You know what I mean? And what about, and we've got to be thankful for the people that are there. We got to be thankful for the people that are in the trenches, that are exposing themselves to these things. I saw a group of nurses and medical professionals praying in the name of Jesus at their hospital the other day. It was really a special thing to see. You don't see a lot of that these days. But I'm telling you, man, we need revival. We need to wake up spiritually and realize that, we don't own this land. God owns this land. You know what I mean? And we've kind of, the Bible talks about, we get turned over to, we know God's judging the land when we get turned over to the sins that are spoken of in the Scripture. Nobody wants to talk about that, And I get it; it's hard. But the reality is God is just, and His ways are always above our ways, and we don't understand, but His way of doing things, but it's always for His glory, and there will be a silver lining through all this. I really believe it.
Yeah, what's tough about it is the entire world. It's the entire world. Usually hurricane season, people make sure they're gassed up. Hey, I got to leave before this stuff hits, but there's nowhere that you can go, and that's why they're asking people, hey, if you can, hang tight, and there's a lot of.
And there's no way you can go. You can't go to hotels. I mean, you can't do nothing.
Can't.
I mean, it's really a weird. So this is kind of something that popped up. This is going to sound ugly, but I want it to. Let's push it forward to the positive. We're always reminded. Stuff like this is a reminder that we're always about 3 days away from chaos.
That's fair. Yeah, definitely
a week away from total disaster. And 2 weeks away from utter anarchy. I mean, this is not a time to get crazy. This is a time to realize and recognize that we can spend quality time with our family. We can communicate. I mean, it's kind of weird through the fishbowl, looking through to all the people out in the world through the lens of a camera. But isn't it cool though that we still have a means of reaching out? I mean, think of in the Spanish flu days or in the 1800s where they weren't sure what was causing these plagues and whatnot, and they didn't have a means of communication. You didn't know if your neighbor had it. You couldn't text them, you know what I mean?
Wash your hands. You can tell people,
right.
Just wash your hands and don't touch your face.
But I will say with this envelope virus, this coronavirus, I mean, it because it's an envelope, it is relatively easy to desanitize. Wash your hands, if you are feeling ill, don't go around people. Make sure you're resting. Get your water. It's just, these are simple stuff, but the old KISS principle works, keep it simple. And so we want to keep it simple going through the process. And I thought, this would be kind of fun to share and, going into this season, right? And to find out what is it, what are we worth? What are we worth? Okay. So here's how here's your worth, and I think you'll really appreciate this. And here goes. So okay, so let me help you recognize your true worth as a marvelous creation of God. Several years ago, Dr. Harold J. Moritz, a leading biochemist, received a birthday card from his daughter that said, "Biochemists have determined that the human body is worth only $2.98 in raw materials. Happy birthday anyway." Intrigued by that figure and realizing that the human body is not just raw materials, but complex chemical structures, Dr. Moritz took out his chemical supply catalogs and began looking up the prices of all chemicals that compose the human body. Guys, y'all going to love this. Get ready. Here are some of his findings. Hemoglobin, $285 a gram. Insulin, $47.50 a gram. Trypsin, $36 a gram. Bilirubin, the bile pigment, $12 a gram. The human DNA, $76 a gram. Collagen, $15 a gram. Human albumin, $3 a gram. Acetate kinase, $8,860 a gram. Alkaline phosphatase, $225 a gram. Amino acids such as bradykinin cost upwards of $12 a gram. That's just one. Follicle stimulating hormone, $8 million a gram. Prolactin, the hormone that stimulates milk production of mothers, that costs $17.5 million a gram. Okay, get ready. It gets better. Taking all these into account and calculating the percentages of each chemical in the human body, Moritz arrived at the cost of $245.54 per gram weight of any human body. So I weigh approximately 165 pounds, so that's 74,843 grams. So since 70% of the human body is water, I subtracted that in order to get my dry weight of 22,453 grams times 245.54, and I came to $5.5 million. So you're looking, Gardy, you're hearing, if all those that are out there, you're hearing a $6 million man, approximately.
I think that's a little undervalued.
I mean,
when you take into account all the knowledge that you've shared and the other stuff.
I like how you think, Gardy.
Right,
so it gets better. Thank you. Just like segued right into the next piece here. But if these chemicals had to be assembled into cellular structure, the cost would be $600 billion. And if these cellular structures were turned into the human cells, Dr. Moritz reported a figure of $6,000 trillion. Still not over. If that's not overwhelming enough, when these cells are formed into tissues and tissues into organs and glands and muscles and nerves and bones and joints to make a fully functioning human body, Dr. Moritz states that our ability to calculate the worth of man becomes impossible. And that just gives me goosebumps. Every human being is priceless. Don't sell out too cheap. Romans 12:1 says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. And especially, so don't sell yourself cheap, especially when you remember that someone already paid the price for you, and that person is Jesus Christ. Isn't that cool?
That is really cool. I wonder where the little girl got the $2.98 figure from. I need to see her numbers.
From a Hallmark card, I suppose.
Oh, it was just straight up in the card already.
So, thank you, Dr. Fandon, for sharing that with me. That was a absolute, eye-opening statistic and figure, and I hope it's encouraging to many of you guys out there. Don't sell yourself cheap. Your body's worth more than we can put a figure to, and it is a powerful thing.
Here's a couple questions. One is pretty easy, and then there's another one I have to find, but this one's from April. So I know that there is this is from April. She said, hey, will your office still be open during the stay-at-home order decree? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, so right as of now, because of there is no if people are suffering and in pain, we still have things that we need to offer them. I mean, like for example, we have patients that are under care that need the work that we're doing that's got them stable, and so we're still available. We do phone consults for people that are concerned. That's an easy thing. We have a drop box in the back to pick up stuff. We'll have somebody available to run a package out to your car. We have people waiting in their cars as their waiting room, and they call us to let us know they're there, and then they come in. And so at this point, we are still an essential piece of the pie, and so we're working in the trenches as well to be present and to be there for our people. And so thankfully we're there.
Okay, here's another question. This is from Liz Peters over at Code Ninjas. She said, Dr. Chapa, I have a rare autoimmune and bone disorder, and the body is currently in a weird flare. What's the number one thing to help with this? Is it food, supplements, and she wants it to help?
Turmeric Forte is a product that we use at the office whenever we're in an autoimmune flare. The turmeric Forte is mixed with fenugreek, and it's 47 times more potent and anti-inflammatory than like turmeric by itself. And so it would help pull down a flare of inflammation when we're in a state of crisis. And then, but obviously there's more to the story. When you have bone disorders, when you have joint disorders, we look at, there's a lot of inflammation that comes from food. So we want to look at, all right, wheat, products is number one thing that's got to go. And I know right now with respect to carbs, most people get their carbs from grains, and grains being wheat, that is one of probably a staple in your diet at the moment, and it needs to not be. It needs to be a crutch when true famine hits, and in the meantime, we try to keep you on more of a real food diet, and and that being fruits, vegetables, light, easy to digest proteins, fish, chicken, turkey, eggs, and we start observing to see if we can get change to happen. Some of the issue that's probably flared up, I got a lot of my autoimmune cases, not just this situation, but many that are flaring up right now because of, I hate to say it, stress. And again, if you're not managing that stress, we use a product called adaptocrine, which is got rhodiola in it, it's got ashwagandha in it, it's got ginseng in it, it's got some raw materials to help just feed the adrenal glands. It's one of my favorite products for helping downregulate stress. And then the Mentran, again, calming the mental break so that your body's not overheating. It's a coolant. It's a mind calming mineral. I mean, minerals are simply God's tranquilizers. I mean, again, we're not trying to. We don't treat the body's conditions. We don't treat the body's symptoms. We give alternatives to drugs and surgery by taking care of the person. And so as long as we're getting you to stop putting the inflammatory foods in and start putting anti-inflammatory herbs on top of it, we can reverse the flare and get your system back under control.
Here's a question. This is from Randy. So as far as what we should be eating fruit and vegetable-wise, is there anything that you suggest? Like what is the first ones we should reach for, and maybe what are the ones to stay away from?
Yeah, so I like anything that pushes liver and kidneys. So like asparagus is really fantastic for your kidneys. The beets are fantastic for your liver. Artichoke is good for your liver. And there's some overlap, of course, in these departments. And we use products called SP Green Food, Cruciferous Complete, that are veggies that will help mobilize liver. We have Liviplex and AF Beta Food that help drive liver function. And again, a lot of the programs that we build, when you start really looking at the nuts and bolts of how they work in the body, they mobilize stagnation. When there's stagnation, there's always going to be symptoms. When symptoms are left unchecked, there's going to be disease. So we want to mobilize the tissues, mobilize the lymphatics. So we want to make sure that the bowels are moving, the liver's draining, the lymph are draining, and we use different herbs and programs to do that. And then we look to food. So this morning I had beets, cucumbers, and a few tomatoes. I think it was like 3 of the. I can't remember those little. They're not cherry tomatoes, but slightly bigger than a cherry tomato, but not a big tomato.
Yeah.
And some of our pink salt at the office, which is a Hawaiian a salt and a Mediterranean salt mixed together. So there's 82 trace elements and trace minerals in there. There's electrolytes in there. Yesterday I did a little salt cleanse. Now if you have high blood pressure, this is not recommended. But like I was like, I'm gonna push my system a little bit. So I took a quarter teaspoon of the Himalayan salt, or not the Himalayan, but the pink salt that we have at our office, and I threw it in water, stirred it up, and shot it down. And that brings a lot of water to the bowel to just flush things through. Because a lot of times when stresses go up, our body mobilizes blood to the fight-flight system, running or fighting, right? And so we don't get enough blood flow to the rest and digest system or your digestive tract. So we want to make sure that what a lot of the programs I'm doing is I'm pulling people's body back into what we call a parasympathetic state, where the body can rest and digest and heal and recover, as opposed to steer off the beaten path and get inflamed, or be in that constant state of fight or flight, where you're like a volcano eruption waiting to explode. We can't have that. That's not good for you in this season. It's not good for your family. It's not good for you homeschooling parents. Newly homeschooling parents,
mm-hmm.
thrown to the wolves. And the favorite thing that a patient told me was, I never thought this would happen, but my son, who is 9 years old, and myself have a conference call in 2 separate rooms at the same time in the same house. And just never
really.
Yeah, and she's like, this is weird.
Like with the actual teacher?
Yeah. No, the kids with their class.
Okay.
A conference call. She's with her work. Conference call. They're both having conference calls, getting work done.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is one of those things you never thought would happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm in a part of some because I used to work for AT&T as a technician, so I'm in a part of these technician groups because there's funny memes, and it's just good. Some of the guys I worked with are in there, and they were talking about these people are going to be very upset because the internet prices that that they're getting or streams to their house isn't enough to handle Mom, 2 conference calls, working from home, streaming Netflix. Maybe it could before when there was some of it, but now everybody's there, so it may cause a more stressful situation. That's why you need that adapter granted everything else.
That's right. And again, going back to, you've got to assess the stress. You've got to assess your bowels. I told one of my friends told me early on, this was almost 15 years ago, before I actually launched, into practice. And he says, I'm not trying to, gross you out or offend you talking about your bowels, but you can learn so much by the health and the consistency of your bowels. If your bowels are dry and hard little pellets, that means that things are going through too slow and that things are rotting and putrefying. And the average American has 10 to 15 meals caked up inside of them. And if it's mushy cow patties or if it's runny diarrhea, it's going through too fast and you can't absorb the nutrients fast enough. And remember, we eat, we digest, we assimilate, we build, right? And then we excrete what we don't need, and we use and leverage what we need. And so that happens in two systems of our body, in the big system and in the cellular system. And so recognizing that you should be having fawn-colored fluffy floaters about a foot long 2 to 3 times a day, that's normal.
But what's most efficient for toilet paper?
I have a funny meme about that, but I don't know if it's good on the air.
Maybe not. I don't know. These are things we need to think about in these times. It's like, okay, well, if I eat this way, it'll go too quick. I'm going to save, I have to save toilet paper.
And so maybe that's why when we're in true famine, you reach to the staff of life. Think about it. When do you use a staff? Use a staff when you're on unlevel ground. You will use a staff when you're on rocky ground, when you're unstable yourself, a cane or a walker, you're unstable yourself. That's when you use grains, bread, rice, cereal, pasta, potatoes. You reach to these filler foods that have a tendency to fill you up because they slow down bowel function so much. They can slow you down up to 37%. So then you can have 10 to 15 meals caked up inside of you. You might want things to go slower because you don't know where the next bathroom break will come. You don't know where some of these places will be that we can work, our next meal might come from. And so people will reach to grains. But I'm just saying, because shipping has not shut down and we can still get access to foods through either local or box vendors, we still have resources available. And this is really, it's a weird famine. Well, it's really more of a stress famine. It's a fear famine. It's not fear famine. It's just an act of fear. The fear is false evidence appearing real. Fear is, the work of the enemy. That's, if he can get in your mind, that's why you got to put that helmet of salvation on, and make sure that you protect the mind and make sure that you guard your thoughts and be careful what you're watching, man. There's a lot of stuff out there that seems to make sense and very well is probably true. But the reality is what can we really do about it other than everybody work through it? So if we all go doom and gloom and negative, man, it's going to be a real bumpy ride. If we can find the silver lining and work through the process and find what you can do, maybe it's a phone call, maybe it's a Zoom meeting, maybe it's some sort of way that you can create an outreach to share positivity, to share Jesus with somebody, to be a voice of reason, to talk a friend off the shelf. I've got people in my life that have helped me this week. Because I'm not always I have to work through my thoughts as well, just like anybody else. But I just know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the things that I offer to help support the bodies as a whole. Because what part of the watch tells time, Gardy?
All of it. Need every piece.
That's every piece. And so we don't treat diseases in our office. We don't cure things. We work with humans. We deal with the body as a whole, and we start to see people living better, being better, and staying better because their body is more readily able to adapt to its surroundings. It's readily able to adapt to stressors. It's readily able to deal with infections and things that are coming at us from every which way to Sunday right now.
All right. So right now it's 9:58. There's one more question.
Yeah.
This comes from Amanda. She said, I was wondering if Dr. Chapa helps with adult and children with ADHD. Yep.
So obviously Jennifer and I, she's working on her master's program, nutrition program she's one of the nutritionists at our office. And one of the assignments that she had to work on this week is assess this food log and see if you can give determining factors to why this child has asthma and why this kid might have some learning disabilities. And we looked at the food log, and the food log is just laden with sugar and dairy and pasta. That's literally the only things that were on the list. It was probably, unfortunately, a common thread in many children's diets today. And so we find a lot of ADD, ADHD, mental issues. Even as an adult, if you find that you're having a hard time processing or keeping your your thoughts clear as you're working through the challenges of your work day. You can use food as a modulator to keep your blood sugar from spiking. That's one of the first things we do with kids is we regulate diet. We start looking at their diet. It doesn't mean that we're going to make them eat vegetables, because I know little Johnny won't eat veggies, so we're going to have to find some solutions. But there's work on mom's part. There's work on dad's part. There's work on the family's part to rally around little Johnny so that little Johnny can get healthy and get well, especially if they're having ADD, ADHD, or defiant, outbreaks or outburst syndromes or anger management issues or whatever. And so the food matters. So start your day right. I mean, at this point, nobody can say they don't have enough time for breakfast. You know what I mean?
You got a little time.
We got a little time.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the experimental time. Try just starting everybody's day with protein and protein only. No carbs until 2 in the afternoon. You know what I mean? That means you get a little meat and veggies for lunch, or just vegetables, or salad. We get creative. I mean, if all they will eat is eggs all day long, I guess that's all they get. You know what I mean? Like you can get a protein shake. Get a protein shake in there. Try to put just proteins, what we call logs on the fire, and good healthy fats, avocado or coconut oil, or get creative in making some almond flour bread mixes or pancakes or something, and try to be heavier on the fats and the protein for breakfast, and little to none, if any, no sugars at breakfast time, and watch how your morning goes. Watch how their morning goes. And within about 4 or 5 days, you'll see just like a calm come over them. They'll just kind of be less brain foggy, I guess, and more attentive. What we noticed when we had kids going through the process just a month ago on the detox, or 2 months ago on the detox, we had 2 kids that normally just literally are up, fidgety, they're running around, they can't sit, they can't focus, and they went through the process. Within 2 weeks, they're doing their schoolwork, which normally takes 6 hours. They're getting it done in 3 hours. And that's really one of the interesting things about, I think, homeschooling. You can get quite a bit done when you have strong, focused attention on your work. But we've got to retrain. Education is the art of learning, self-directed education, not necessarily memorizing facts and figures. Memorize it and dump it isn't the model that we should be teaching. We should be teaching the art of learning, how to learn, how to fall in love with the act of learning. If we can get our kids reading more, if we can get them more engaged in vocabulary, in building a powerful word base, they will read better, more effectively. They'll have a desire to read, more complex literature, or classics. This is where you start asking, on your Facebook groups and your social circles, what are some classic book material that I can get my family reading, and read to your kids. One of the best things that you can do, homeschool tip that we've learned at different conferences, is read to your kids. Read to the kids. The kids love to be read to. It's okay if one of your kids is drawing. It's okay if one of your kids is playing with little dollies. It's okay if one of the kids is just sitting there, just listening for what my wife has the kids do, is to call out if they hear an ly word. And it's amazing. I'm like, because what they have to do is they have to listen to.
Those are the tips we need, Dr. Chapa.
I know. You had to wait to the end to get it, but
yes.
That's the way it goes.
That's what we needed.
But so there's so much to learning how to even teach. When you're in the homeschooling realm, there's 2 levels of education that you're regaining. You're regaining a level of education that you didn't get yourself, because we. This is going to sound probably bad, but like there is a level of we kind of simplify it to meet the masses' needs, as opposed to the art of true learning yourself, and to retrain your own kids on how to fall in love with learning. So there's 2 levels of learning that are being recaptured in the homeschooling realm, and I would say use the next 3 to 4 months as that. What can you learn in teaching your kids grammar? Oh, I didn't know what a participle was. I didn't know what
I don't know what that is.
A subject. Maybe it's just a subject of a sentence or a verb of a sentence, and going to the adjectives or looking for those dress-up words like ly words. And I mean, a great resource if you want. Andrew Pudwall is a great grammar guy. All my homeschool friends will give me a shout out, but Andrew Pudwall is outstanding writer and grammar and English and language teacher, and one of my favorites. I met him at a conference and listened to him speak, and just he's got a ton of YouTube videos. He's got a lot of core curriculum that you can access, and it is fascinating because he teaches things that I wish I would have had in English grammar classes. I would have been a better writer, and now I'm trying to, with everything else, relearn the art of writing. And man, it's a lot harder at 40 than it would have been if my only job was to write a paper, a creative paper in school, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more responsibilities and pulls on my strings that distract me from staying engaged.
Yeah, and to be honest, in school, I can speak from personal experience. I remember I just need to pass this test. I just need to remember this just enough so I know the answers. I don't want to understand why. I just need to know the answer. I don't know. That's all I need, right? So hey, here's a question. This is from Mo. And I know we did some ideas earlier, and we were talking about breakfast, but they want to know specific ideas for breakfast. Is fruit okay?
Yeah, I mean, the other day I had some berries for raspberries for breakfast, and eggs. I had one day I just had raspberries in a shake. I mean, you could throw in fruit into a shake and make a vegetable fruit smoothie. And where you get creative with the shakes, for example, you can throw a handful of spinach into your shake, and you won't taste it. It'll taste just like the fruit and the powder that you're using. So if you got a vanilla or a chocolate, you could throw some spinach in there, assuming you don't throw like the whole box, right? But I mean, if you throw a good handful of spinach in there, and you got a good blender, it'll blend it right up, and you'll be like, cool. I mean, I just ate spinach and didn't even, it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
It kind of tastes like chocolate. You could do, put in half an avocado or a quarter of an avocado. A lot of people hate avocado, surprisingly, but you could put a quarter to a half avocado in your shake, and it'll make your shakes really nice and creamy. You could use, you can get creative with your eggs. I found on Pinterest and made poached eggs in a muffin tin. So you put a tablespoon of water in a muffin tin. You open and crack an egg, and I believe I'm gonna probably mess the temp up, but I think the temp was like at 325 for like 8 minutes or something like that, and you create darn near a perfect poached egg, and I was pretty impressed. I'm a proponent of proteins for breakfast. So I use the Applegate Farms chicken sausage. I use bacon. I use, I try to avoid the MSG stuff at this point, monosodium glutamate, or the high preservative-based nitrates and nitrite foods. One morning we had turkey pepperonis mixed in the eggs. I know that sounds really weird and crazy, but you get creative when...
Sounds delicious to me.
Yeah, honestly,
I'd try it, yeah.
It looked and it tasted amazing. Oh my gosh. If you're a vegetarian, eat a salad the size of your head. A lot of vegetarians are carbitarians, and they reach to carbohydrates. Like I said this morning, I ate a vegetarian breakfast with some watermelon seeds that we sell at our office. Watermelon seeds are 10 grams of protein per ounce. So, I mean, you can get a truckload of protein, plant protein, if you're a vegetarian, and you could leverage the chia seed pudding. It's a can of coconut milk. I think it's 7. I'm just guessing. You might want to just double check it on YouTube or something. 7 tablespoons of chia seeds, cinnamon, and some vanilla. Or if you don't like vanilla, use something else or don't. Mm-hmm. But you can literally mix that together, put that in your refrigerator. 8 hours later, you've got some pudding that will rock your socks off. You can have. This might be a time where you go, well, I don't really want breakfast food for breakfast. I want, a meat. Well, go grill something. I mean, you can grill veggies, right? You can saute veggies with olive oil and Mediterranean spices, and you can put Thai spices together to create, a different dish. So vegetables really don't taste to me like anything. Beets are pretty strong, right? I would say that for me, eggplant is a pretty, I can tell I'm eating eggplant anytime I get it, no matter how somebody prepares it. But most vegetables just need to be spiced right. Most people like the veggies that I make for them because I spice well. But people go, well, how do you spice? I don't know, a little of this and a little of that. I just throw stuff together and let chemistry work. And then you find 3 or 4 spices and fall in love with it, and then you'll just live on that for a while. My wife makes a vinaigrette dressing with red wine vinegar, balsamic vinegar, organic garlic powder, and I think just salt and pepper. And it tastes heavenly. I'm like, how do you do that? And she showed me, and I'm like, that's so easy. And I'm like, you know what I mean? I'm like, this is dumb.
Magic. What?
She made some chimichurri sauce the other day. You can put chimichurri over eggs. You can put chimichurri sauce over a turkey patty. You can put chimichurri sauce on a salad. You can use sauces and spices and eat the same base foods that are on what I would call my yellow diet. It's an anti-inflammatory diet. It's a grain-free diet. And I'm not saying you have to be grain-free. You pick when you're going to put the grain in, right? If we have a grain, for example, I'm going to go as long as I can without putting the grain in. I mean, I have had a grain bite of this or that here and there, but I really do strive to avoid it, because it slows my system down. I don't like it, and then it slows my mind down, and it's just not good. Me and grains don't get along, and I've figured that out about me. And so until I have to eat a grain, a morsel, I'm going to enjoy the fact that I still have the luxury of shipping coming into the store. You know what I mean? And so this is one of those luxuries where we go, wow, he who controls the food controls the world. This is crazy. But the answer really is creative spices, creative sauces, and the Whole30 cookbook has some great sauces. It has some great spices. We use simply organic spices at the store. The Mediterranean spice is a fantastic spice. We use your basic. I use my Premier salt, which is the Hawaiian and Mediterranean salt from my office. And then we use we have a slew of other items, garlic powders and other kind of cool spices. But be careful. This is one thing that I was really upset about when I was doing my detox this year. A spice that I really love, and I don't know why I didn't catch this sooner, but hey, we're all on a journey, right? And I hope that people can learn from my mistakes, because they say that a wise person learns from his own mistakes, but a genius, and I hope all of y'all are geniuses and learn from my mistakes, learn from others' mistakes, is a genius. And so I bought a spice from Simply Organics that it's all organic, and it's an allspice, and the second ingredient was sugar. And I was like, dang it. No wonder I love this chicken. I just poured sugar all over it. And so you've got to be mindful. Even though it says organic cane sugar, doesn't mean it's necessarily good for you. If I take the sugar shaker and go, no wheezing the juice, if everybody knows what that film was. Sugar is not good for you. And really, it has been so overconsumed. Our bodies really perceive it as an enemy, as a poison. It is a controlled substance. And so of trying to put in good, healthy foods during even this weird time that we're all living in, we do the best we can to live this out. So good. That's an excellent question.
All right. Is there anything else you'd like to share, Dr. Chapa?
I don't know, man. I could sit here and talk all day. No, I think we're good. I hope everybody has a wonderful, blessed afternoon, a blessed morning. I'm thankful to be here with you, Gardy. I'm thankful that we have the opportunity to just get this message to people, because really and truly, people need to hear a different way of living. They need to hear that even when it's seemingly crazy out there, that we're all kind of going through it together, that there are still solutions to living better, eating better, and taking care of ourselves better. So I hope that people learn some great things today. I hope that you really recognize your worth, that God is still on the throne. All this is going to work out for his glory, no doubt about it. Even when you get down, even if today's a gloomy day for you, I hope that you're inspired and encouraged just to say, you know what? okay, it's okay. Recognize that you're going through it. Recognize who's going to get you through it, and recognize that we're all 11 days away from our promised land. And what that means in Deuteronomy is the Israelites were 11 days away from their promised land when they were set free from out of bondage from Egypt. And they groaned, they mumbled, they complained, they bickered, they fought, and it took them 40 years to get to their promised land. And many of them did not go into the promised land because of the grumbling, of the moaning and the groaning. And so my encouragement to all of you, to myself, to my family, to everybody out there that hears my voice is no grumbling, no complaining. And anybody says how things are going, I'm 11 days away from my promised land. We're 11 days away from our promised land. And just know what that means is know where your help comes from. We're going to get through this together. And Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center cares about you. We love you guys. And you can visit us at our website, justlivewell.com. You can give us a call, 281-554-8600. At this point in time, we are still in the category of need, so we're going to serve, and we are here. So anything we can do to be a blessing to you and your family, please let us know. We'll do what we can to make the challenge less challenging.
This is KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM. This is Kickstart. I'm Gardy. Be blessed. All right, Facebook. Don't touch your face. Wash your hands. I shaved yesterday, and I've been like a little, itchy and just
it's so weird, right? Like you just want to it's so natural how much we touch ourselves that when you're forced to think about it, you go, oh,
Yeah.
And how now, people freak out if you get close to your nose or mouth or something. It's like, you're okay.
Got my little hand sanitizer. This is the cleanest my hands have ever been. And I've been spending a lot of time, up at the hospital and stuff, and they have hand sanitizer and soap everywhere. And then whenever I go home and even coming up to here, I'm just looking for places, and I'm using my elbows and all kinds of stuff. I was like, I just need little extra hands, or I'm going to build something to put on my elbos and just do that from now on.
That's funny. So it's just an interesting time that we live in, and but it is what it is, and so we're gonna keep on keeping on and keep trucking. So blessings to all. We'll check you on the flip side.
All right, guys, y'all have a good day.